Friends, at this time we are going to begin the funeral services for Paula A. Golden. If you have a cell phone or a pager, I would ask for you to please take a moment now to turn it off or place it in the silent mode. And officiating today's services will be Rabbi Ellen Weinberg-Dreyfus and Cantor David Berger.
Lenegedi tamid ki mimini bal emot bal Lachein samach libi vayagel kevodim besari Yishkon laveto ki lo tazov nafshi lisheol תיתן חסידך לראות שחת אורח חיים סוב שמחות את פניך נעימות בימינך
Death has taken our beloved Paula Golden. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, be with them. For Paula's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever, for her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. The words of Psalm 1, "Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, or taken the path of sinners, or joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in season, whose foliage never fades, and whose fruit always flourishes." Psalm 23.
מזמור דוד, אדוני רואי, לא אחסר, בנאות דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות, על מי מנוחות, ינעלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, שיבתך משענתך הימה ינחמוני. תערוך לפניי, שולחן נגד צהרי, דישן טוב ושמן ראשי, כוסי ערב אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני, כל ימי חיי, כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני רואי, לא אחסר.
You may join me if you wish in the English words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It would not be a Golden family event without music, and so there will be a piece played by a string quartet, and Dan will introduce.
Just give us a sec.
Thanks for being here. That's those of you who are in the room and those of you in the online regions. We're so glad you're here, and it's very gratifying. It would have been gratifying to Mom. It's certainly gratifying to the family that you share our love for her, and that you're here, and that you were here when she was having difficulties, and that you were good friends, and whatever your relationship to her was, that that you supported her and gained from that experience. We introduce our group: Christine Golden, who's married to Brother Jonathan, and Beth Anderson, who's Christine's sister. So there's a pattern here. This is Mark Agnor, who is our colleague and friend, and not related, but today he has an important job, just try to keep the family members from losing him. He's a beautiful player, and we're playing string quartets, which was a big thing in our family, as a lot of people know. Are we hearing me okay? Thank you. We're going to play the Cavatina, which is the fifth movement from Beethoven's Opus 130 quartet, one of the late quartets. It's an epic work, huge piece. The movement that we're going to play was Paula's choice. She was my mom's choice. We spent some time together when she's in hospital listening to music and getting her thoughts, and this was the one. To me, it's not an obvious choice at all. Frankly, the piece expresses and it evokes some very complicated and even painful emotions. It did for Beethoven too, according to lore. My parents were lifelong chamber music lovers, as you know, many of you. Many of you have played with them who are in the room. Certainly Mother was aware of some of the lore around this cavatina, that it was unique in Beethoven's output, that was followed in the original version of Opus 130 by the revolutionary Grosse Fuge, the Great Fugue, which is like a 20th century piece that was written back in the early 1800s. But the cavatina represented something special for her. I can really only guess at it, which I'm going to go ahead and do, but perhaps hearing it, you will have your own thoughts, and we certainly encourage that. At the beginning of this piece, you will hear a song-like melody, and it's shared mostly by the two violins who alternate. It's a bit like two people who are very close, so close that they often complete each other's thoughts. The melody winds on, and it builds and it tapers through various episodes, repetitions, various thoughts. You can go with it wherever you wish. What was special to Mom was there's a very quiet moment, which will be pretty obvious. It happens about halfway through the piece, over a suddenly quiet, pulsing accompaniment in the second violin, the viola, and the cello. The first violin tentatively tries to sing a song, but has trouble getting the notes out at first. Haltingly, the rhythm does not mesh with the accompaniment. The marking by Beethoven is beklemmt, which translates to choked, or maybe anguished. Usually choked is what people think. Gradually, the violin regains its voice, and the piece eventually moves to a resolution and repeating some of the earlier song. Well, for me, the ending of this movement is curiously unsettled. So in very simple terms, a great love, then loss, and eventually, gradually acceptance and remembrance of that lost love. I guess this might describe the process many of us are engaged in at this moment. So this is a cavatina by Beethoven.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to hear from a couple of people now. First, I'd like to call on Paula's dear friend, Dolores Sanders.
Paula and I have had goings-on together over the years that range from the ridiculous to the sublime to the personal. Let's start with the ridiculous. That wasn't so ridiculous because it was in service of the temple. For many years, Paula worked at Bargains Unlimited, the thrift shop we jointly ran with 4 other Jewish organizations. When I resigned from working here at the temple, I joined Paula, Norm Weinberg, Hortense Rosenstein, and several others in our 1 day a week of service at the shop. Paula was the leader. When Norm usually sat behind the cash register, and when he wasn't helping a customer, he would be busy doing the New York Times crossword puzzle. Hortense and I would be looking for bargains, and Paula would be doing the schlepping, mostly in that big Buick station wagon with the fake wood on the side, remember that? She would be schlepping, sorting, organizing, displaying, tagging, in other words, all the work. And it took a lot to go through all the schmatters, household discards, furniture, jewelry that came our way and turned, I think, into about $100,000 of profits for KAM Isaiah Israel. We all learned from Paula how to put your heart and soul into a project. 2, how to lovingly care for a child with special needs. 3, how to be a good temple member and a good Jew. When Paula's father, Howard Adler, passed away, Paula came to my office, as I was the administrator at the time, with a large donation in his memory that she designated to go to the religious school. She had no children or grandchildren in the school at the time, but explained and reminded me that the school was our future. 4, how to be a good friend. Gretel Janowski called Paula a love, and that summed it up. 5, how to make a filter fish and how to bake challah. Robert's Fish on Devon will miss Paula's 12-pound net order every Passover. For the Sublime, Paula, Harold, and I subscribed to the Thursday matinee lyric opera series for many, many years. Also, for the jazz series at the Logan Center, music had no bounds. Paula was so amazing, so smart, so energetic, so caring, so kind, so accepting, and so much fun. I'll miss her terribly.
Thank you, Dolores. Now we'll hear from Gail Golden, Paula's daughter-in-law.
What can I say about Paula Golden? She was a force of nature. She was one of the smartest people I have ever known. She generally shunned the spotlight. She loved without limits. All true, but none of those quite capture my image of her. I think the best term I can think of is that Paula was an OI. Let me explain. Those of you who are active on social media know the term OG. It actually stands for Original Gangster. But it has come to mean someone who is considered authentic and excellent, often in an admirably old school sort of way. I would never call Paula any kind of a gangster. Another social media term is influencer, which refers to someone who has a reputation of authority or expertise in a particular area and who uses that authority to engage with large numbers of social media followers. I think Paula was an OI, an original influencer. Not on social media, but in the real 3D world. Her ideas, her values, her preferences, her actions, her opinions, they all had enormous influence on the many people around her. Paula was a center of gravity. She drew people into her circle and then often had a profound effect on them. I have known Paula for 54 years and have been her daughter-in-law for 50. She was certainly an influencer in my life. For starters, she taught me how to eat. Before I met her, I was a picky eater who was unwilling to try new foods. At her table, I learned how wonderful and varied food can be. Paula taught me how to entertain. My mother, Oliva Sholem, was a wonderful hostess, but she was extremely anxious about entertaining. Paula, my God, she could throw a party for 20 people without breaking a sweat. I love to entertain now, and it's because she showed me how. On a deeper level, Paula taught me how to be welcoming. When I started dating Dan, she invited me to her home within weeks. The following spring, I was included in one of the first chamber music weekends that she and Sam ran at Sleepy Hollow. The next Christmas season, I was invited along on a Golden family weekend expedition to Pokagon State Park in Indiana. We all slept in the same room. Sam, Paula, Dan, Jonathan, Ann Ruth, Miriam, and me, as well as the family dog, Peggy. It doesn't get any more welcoming than that. Paula took her role as an influencer seriously. She offered advice on just about everything, whether you asked for it or not. At times that could be annoying, but what was even more annoying was that she was almost always right. Those of us who were lucky enough to be in Paula's circle were deeply influenced by her in a multitude of ways. The original influencer is gone, and we will miss her loving spirit and her wise counsel. But every time that we live out the lessons she taught us, and every time we share them with others, Paula Golden, the OI, lives on.
Thank you, Gail. A poem by Rabbi Alvin Fine. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage. From childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. Often when rabbis are called to officiate at funerals, we learn about the deceased from their family and don't have any personal memories or relationship with that person. It is a special honor for me to stand here today, having known Paula Golden most of my life, probably since Dan and I were in kindergarten together at KAM Religious School, lo, these many years ago. Paula and Sam were friends of my parents of blessed memory and spent time together both in Chicago and in South Haven. I won't bore you with all the other connections, but they are numerous. So I count myself among the myriads of those who loved Paula. Paula Adler grew up in Flossmoor, sharing a loving home with her brother Howard and sister Joan. She was a bright and talented student, showing enough musical ability to attend the National Music Camp at Interlochen, Michigan at age 14. There she met another cellist, a college student named Sam Golden. She wrote home, "I think I've seen the man I'm going to marry." She was correct, of course, as Paula usually was. It took a few years of continuing education and visiting back and forth while she attended Swarthmore College and he studied at the University of Chicago, but they married in June 1948. They settled in Chicago, Sam working as an attorney and Paula teaching at first, but then working at home as mother to Daniel, Jonathan, Ann Ruth, and Miriam. Their home in Marinook was a busy and welcoming place where friends of Paula and Sam and friends of the kids all came and went and knew they would find a listening ear, something to eat, and an understanding adult. Parenting came with challenges, especially with Ann Ruth, who had developmental delays and numerous medical crises. Paula and Sam became advocates for people with mental disabilities. And when Ann Ruth moved to a residential facility at age 10, they were involved with that institution and the larger world of advocacy. Sam was the front man in many of these associations, and Paula was the one managing the activities and following through on their commitments. They continued to be active in Ann Ruth's life and keep her involved with the life of the family until her death in 2010. Sam and Paula had a relationship that was described to me as magical. They shared a deep understanding and an almost telepathic communication that lasted through the 67 years of their marriage. They were an extraordinary team, and together they accomplished so much. In addition to their amazing family life, they organized the chamber music weekends at Sleepy Hollow for 50 years and participated in more community events than we can name. Paula was a loving mother who appreciated each of her children for who they were. She taught by example and never shied away from difficult decisions or from grappling with complex situations. She was extremely intelligent, and she and Sam created an atmosphere of intellectual curiosity and a love of music that they transmitted to their entire family. Paula found creative and brave solutions to many challenges. It is said, "Don't go to a Golden if you want a simple answer to a complex problem." Paula welcomed Gail and Chris and Susan into the family with love and enthusiasm. She adored being a grandmother to Josh and Ben and Aaron and Nathan and Simon, and had a unique relationship with each of them. And the frosting on the cake was becoming a great-grandmother. She delighted in any time she could spend with Alessia, Carmelina, Samuel, Alistair, and Nadia. Now it is the responsibility of the remaining family to pass on Paula's traditions and recipes and expectations to the next generation, and make sure they can play a mean game of Scrabble. Let's talk about friendship. Paula didn't just talk about friendship, she raised it to an art form. She had friends who spanned the decades of her life, and friends she made wherever she went. She entered into conversations with people she encountered, whether they were neighbors, or taxi drivers, or caregivers, and as a result, they opened up to her, and she learned their stories. She asked open questions because she really wanted to know. She really wanted to learn about them and their lives, where they were from, how they got here, and with whom they traveled, and what was their direction. She once saw a young man carrying a cello in a train station after she and Sam dropped John off to return to college. The young man looked confused, so Paula stepped in to offer assistance. His train had been delayed, and he didn't know what to do in that strange place. So Paula brought him home and gave him a place to stay and food to eat until he could take the train the next morning. Who does that? To Paula, it was the natural thing to help someone who needed help, especially if that someone played the cello. Paula was generous with her time and her resources. She donated to many organizations and volunteered her time and energy to causes that she believed in. She was an active volunteer for this congregation, as we have heard, for many years, and a regular attendee at the weekday minyan and Shabbat morning services. Back in the day, as Dolores told us, she worked at the thrift shop that KAM Isaiah Israel shared with other organizations. She baked her wonderful challah and other goodies for temple events and helped out in whatever ways were needed. Paula also took care of her loved ones when they needed it most. She cared for her father at the end of his life and took care of Sam in his final illness. Her generosity of spirit extended to everyone she knew. She really believed that it takes a village and had no compunction about correcting behavior in young people she encountered. She didn't chastise, but rather told them, "You're better than that." In the Torah portion assigned to this week, Nitzavim, Moses addresses the assembled Israelites. "You stand here this day, all of you, before the eternal your God, to enter into a covenant with the eternal your God." After enumerating various categories of the people, Moses continues, "I make this covenant with its sanctions not with you alone, but both with those who are standing here with us this day before the eternal our God, and with those who are not here with us this day." I was struck by the timelessness of this passage as I pondered the life of Paula Golden. She lived 96 years on this earth, seeing and experiencing an astounding array of history from 1927 until now. And she knew and touched people whose lives spanned the centuries. In her lifetime, she attended 50th wedding anniversary celebrations for 4 generations: her grandparents, her parents, hers and Sam's, and most recently Dan and Gail's. What an amazing testament to loving relationships and strong family ties. Both with those who are standing here with us this day and those who are not here with us this day. Those who are not here with us go back into the past and stretch ahead into the future. They include our ancestors and our progeny, and the generations yet to be born. Paula's life and example help all who knew her get a glimpse of eternity, of principles she inherited and passed on to the next generations. Paula's wisdom will live on. Her kindness will live on. And her memory will abide as an everlasting benediction. O God of life, amid the ceaseless tides of change which sweep away the generations, your love remains to comfort us and to give us hope. Around us are life and death, decay and renewal, the flowing rhythm that all things obey. Our life is a dance to a song we cannot hear. Its melody courses through us for a little while, then seems to cease. Whence the melody, and whither does it go? In darkness as in light, we turn to you, the source of life, and the answer to all its mysteries. Will you rise for the memorial prayer?
כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים ותיירים כזהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים את נשמת פנינה בת חיים ומלכה שעליך לעולם בגן העדן תהי מנוחתה בעל הרחמים הסתירה בסייעתר כנפיך לעולמים בצרור החיים את נשמתה ותנוע בשלום על משכבו ונאמר
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Paula Golden, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated.
Friends, this concludes the services here at the synagogue. The interment and burial services will continue at Oakwood Cemetery. For those of you traveling with us to the cemetery and the funeral procession, please do keep the following safety precautions in mind. Please make sure that your bright headlights and your four-way hazard flashes are on at all times. Please be sure to obtain an orange funeral safety sticker for your windshield, and we will be providing several, but not every car in the procession with a magnetic orange flag to be placed on top of your car. Please travel as close as safety permits to the car in front of you to avoid any gaps in our procession, and for your own safety and security, I would suggest not speaking or texting while driving to the cemetery in the funeral procession. Our procession will be forming on the street, so we're going to make a right out of the synagogue's parking lot and then proceeding south on Woodlawn. If you are not going to the cemetery in the funeral procession, we would ask that you make your way, after we've been excused from the chapel here, immediately to your cars to allow for the procession to make their way. Following the interment, the family will be together at the Golden residence at 1700 East 56th Street, Unit 1701. They'll be together today upon the return from the interment until 6 p.m. and Tuesday and Wednesday from 5 until 8 p.m. And Shiva will continue on Thursday at the Golden residence at 556 West Roscoe, Unit 1. And again, they'll be together there Thursday from 5 until 8 p.m. The family has also requested any memorial contributions in her memory, either to KAM Isaiah Israel, Mount St. Joseph Home, VOR, or to the charity of your choice. And all of that information regarding Shiva and memorial contributions is available in the service folder, which many of you received when you came into the sanctuary today. And for those of you joining us online, and for anyone else who did not obtain a service folder, that information is available on our website at chicagojewishfunerals.com. This time I would ask for the following individuals who have been selected to serve as pallbearers to come forward to my right: Joshua Golden, Benjamin Golden, Aaron Golden, Nathan Golden, Simon Golden, James Moses, Mark Friedman, and Peter Friedman. And I would ask and invite everyone else to please rise and stand in place as we escort the casket, the family, and the clergy from the chapel space.
הקדושים אשר בארץ המה לא אדירי כל חציבה